I'm still recording as well.
Yeah. Okay. But a life history interview is basically for you to talk about your life as you, whatever events you felt were relevant from like childhood to now. So if you could just start, give me an introduction of who you are and, tell me about your life, basically.
Okay. Marci Janique Brooks, born in Ohio, Steubenville, Ohio, 1971 on August 1st at 10:28 p.m. on a Sunday in the Ohio Valley Hospital. It's the same hospital as my mother. My father and brother were born in the Catholic hospital. I don't know why I was in the public hospital, but then I stayed in Ohio until I was 10. I started reading probably when I was 2, and they wanted to start me in school, but my mother said no because she didn't want me to be ahead of my brother who's older than me because she thought it would affect him psychologically. But I don't think that was the right choice because I ended up still affecting him psychologically.
Wanting you, okay.
Because I still was advanced in reading and things, and so my mother would teach us at home, and she'd be teaching him, and I still would know the answers before him, and he'd say, I wanted to answer, and I'd say, well, you took too long.
So you guys were homeschooled?
No, we weren't homeschooled, but before school, I started reading at 2. We were only allowed to watch Sesame Street and Electric Company and Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood and Captain Kangaroo. So those were the only things we were allowed to watch on television. My mom was really, really strict about us having academic input, but not because she was worried about us being advanced. It was more because she didn't want us to embarrass her. My mother does a lot of things from a position of how will it reflect upon her. Not so much is it better for the person that she's dealing with. So there was a lot of pressure to perform for her benefit. So I started rebelling pretty early. And I was a tomboy. I was not the girly girl. I rebelled against pink. I never asked for a doll. All of my Christmas lists would be books and cards. Like I had unlimited decks of cards.
Like baseball cards?
No. Like I can play solitaire so many different ways. Okay. And I was obsessed with different decks of cards, like the different kings and queens, and the ones that had characters or the ones that you would get when you fly on the airlines. And so I got into numerology and letters and numbers. And I looked at letters and numbers the same as just 2 different languages. And I didn't know the difference between reading notes and music either. I've always looked at symbols as just a different symbol for the same language. And I learned how to read phonetically first. And so that helps me when I read different languages because a lot more languages are phonetically spelled versus English. And so that's where I've always been at home with letters.
So this is like your adolescence before you get to elementary school, or
this is back to memory. Like even before I can remember talking, I remember understanding written words.
I see.
Okay. And like my aunt is 10 years older than me, and then I have a 12 years, 14 years, and then 20 years. And one aunt, they would win money from their friends because they didn't think I could read. And so at first I was really good at memorizing. And I was a natural singer and a natural dancer. And so what helped me memorize first was because my mom was really animated when she reads. So I would have the rhythm of like nursery rhymes. And so I could like read in rhythm, and he would really think I could read because I could turn the page right on time, and it would just be like, so just da 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 da, flip. I just knew that you go da 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 da, flip. So then over time, the memorization became like association. So I would say, okay, I know this is the nursery rhyme. And that's how I learned how to play music too. And that's how I read music, with association of I know this note is at here. Then I'll look through the whole book, or I would look through the whole song to see, well, at least I know 4 words on a page.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I approach my life. Like, I look at what I understand first, and I don't concentrate on that because I assume that's already understood.
And so this is how, was this like things you were learning as a child?
It's just the way I look at my entire life.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I ever consciously made that choice. It was, if you already know it, how many times you have to study what you already know?
Yeah. So how did this play out in younger years?
When I finally did start school in kindergarten, I was in a satellite school. And so it was like a kindergarten that was on the hill, and then the kindergarten through 6th grade was where we would get bused for integration.
Oh.
And so they had a kindergarten there, but I don't know if they felt like, what's the difference between 5 and 6 years old? I don't know. But they felt like, don't bust the 5-year-olds. And so I started kindergarten, and my brother's clean. And so my mother used to have to walk him to school, and he went to a different kindergarten. He started school in a different school than me. But in the 1st grade, he was in still another school, even though it's the same name.
Okay.
So my mother was all expecting me to be, I don't know why, because I'm so black and white, different than my brother. The first day of school, I was dressed up, ready before her. And I was like, all right, I'm ready to go. And you could see the school from where I live. It was like a half a block away. And so I was up dressed, and I had an orange jacket that was just like this with a hood, and girl, it was my security jacket. I even took my school picture in my jacket and got in trouble. I did not take that jacket off. And I was up and ready to go, and she's like, you can't go before you have breakfast. And I was like, I'm not hungry. She was like, you're going to have breakfast. And I had these Raggedy Ann and Annie dishes. And I was like, I don't want to eat. I just want to go to school. And so she made pancakes, and I ate them so fast, and I threw right back up, right into the whole plate. And it was a kid's plate with the lip. And I was like, do I have to eat that? She was like, no, just go. And so I was like, she's like, wait on the porch. So I ran to the front porch, and I was on my way. She's like, you're not going to wait for me? And I was like, for what? It's right there. It's on the playground.
Yeah.
The next day, my mother became a teacher's aide. She could not let me go. And so it's like, when I would start a sport, she would become the coach. When I would start a play, she would become something involved. It was like she tried to live her life vicariously through me.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, come on already. So like my brother, she was so hands off. And I could get on the same team as him the next year. I was the only girl in soccer. I was the only girl in other stuff. And then my mom would take over, so then I would move on. Because no matter what I would do, she wanted to put her spin on it. And so I was like in dance and acting up in the junior high school. And I got selected for a Sugar Ray Robinson Los Angeles teen pageant. And I did this like sassy monologue. And my mom came in and made me stop doing this sassy monologue and picked out a part of Our Town, Thornton Wilder's Our Town. It is a like Victorian type situation, and the girl's name is Emily, and I was supposed to be a dead daughter. And my lines were to my mother. Mama, Mama, why can't you see me? You know, yeah, my mom was a total takeover. And I was like, I'm done with show business.
Yeah.
And it was also a really weird experience because I don't know if you've ever heard this girl named Tammy Townsend, but she used to be on Family Matters with Urkel. She was Eddie's girlfriend on Family Matters. I think they called her Tanya. I don't know, but I could look it up.
Yeah.
But we're supposed to be in an amateur contest, and she was on Different Strokes the night before the contest. And we were all like,
yeah,
what is this? And we were like, we want her disqualified. And we were like, oh no. And she's like played sleeper games. Like we were all supposed to be doing a group dance. And she's like, oh, I don't feel good. Girl, she busted out that night like Debbie Allen. We were like, I don't even want to go on.
Yeah.
Not that she was better than us. We just felt cheated.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I've had a couple of things like that happen around LA, and people saying, oh, why don't you want me in show business? I'm like, I'm not that business. I'm not that business. I don't want my art to become jaded.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to survive off of somebody else's, of one person's critical response.
And so that was high school?
Then actually the junior high school.
Junior high.
So in junior high school, I was already teaching kids dance and doing choreography. We started a drill team in Pasadena and at the junior high school. And then we ended up winning state or something the first year that I was the captain.
Okay. And so when you were 10, you said you moved to Pasadena.
Yes, and that was horrible because I grew up with a bunch of kids from kindergarten. Everybody had the same kindergarten through 6th grade. And older kids played with younger kids, and it was on the hill. And I was always outside. It was Midwest. It was barbecues. It was lake. It was lightning bugs. Everybody's catching the lightning bugs, butterflies.
Lightning bugs.
Girl, you no matter what you're doing, somebody say lightning bug. You go home and you get that glass jar. You be stabbing that mayonnaise jar, trying to get some air holes, trying to get you a shoebox. Mom, I need something. Something. You run out there. And every night I used to jump on somebody because somebody would either throw them on the ground and snare it to get the fluorescence, and that was an instant fight. No words. It was like, bow. And I was a little small, but I used to jump on everybody. Don't hurt the butterfly. Don't chase rabbits. You'll get a rabbit a heart attack. Because we used to have gardens and stuff all the time, too.
So in junior high, you switched over, but it seems like
in the 6th grade, I came out here, and I would go outside all the time. And there would never be kids outside. But I didn't grow up with drive-bys. I came out here in 81. That's when the Ghetto Bird was coming out. That's when the Battle Ram song was a hit. How you gonna have a Battle Ram song be a hit? The Battle Ram, I was in the worst neighborhood. I was on Summerlin and Claremont. It was the Kings Manor projects were 2 blocks to the east. And then there was another set of projects that was 3 blocks south. I was in that nice little corner where the police would bust their little lefts and rights. And it was for real, Boys in the Hood. That was I always had the helicopter lighting up my backyard. And police would come over and dump out people's dope in the street, not even arrest them. You could walk up and down the streets and find money in the ivy where people were ditching their drugs and money and running from the police. We never had to have any problems looking for money for school. We would call it, let's go beat the ivy. We knew certain streets. And we were let's go beat the ivy. So it's first we were afraid that there might be rats or something in the ivy. So that's why we would say, let's go beat the ivy. And whoever was brave, beat the ivy first with some sticks or something. Or throw something in the ivy to see if anything's going to run out. And girl, you were guaranteed to find some 20s, some ivy, no matter what time of the day or night. It was just when you're running from the police back then, that's what they used to do. And it was really bad because my 9th grade year, our football team was undefeated. Between the summer, the kids trying to get money for uniforms, because Pasadena is big business. It's big, Rose Bowl. So it's not like they were playing sports with kids that had no-name shoes and no-name socks. So, these kids coming out, they're trying to compete with kids that live in San Marino, Sierra Madre, big money. Everybody's parents have big money from being in the movie, big movie stars. The little girl, Lark Voorhees, a lot of things people were in my school. So these kids were under pressure to compete. And so by the 10th grade, the whole football team was in jail for selling crack. And our school never recovered. It was we went undefeated to never win another game. Because all the black men were going to jail in the 9th and 10th grade. That's not even 14 years old. I have a friend that just got out after 27 years from selling crack in the 10th grade. And that's before all the laws and disparities were really becoming addressed. They were the first victims, and they're still in jail. Getting caught up on parole violations. So this little prison complex, it means something different to me. To a lot of people, it's a research topic. But for me, it's a lot of my friends and family, because I was in Ohio to see the heroin in the 70s. My father was a heroin addict. Then I come to California and I see the crack. And I'm like, what the hell? It's so attractive about drugs. When you see your family members already on them, you think, I want to be sucked up just like her. And so that's where it's sometimes I look around and it's what does it all mean? Because it's all circles and cycles. But then you say, well, can I affect change? How much change am I willing to affect? At what cost to me? At what cost to my family? And at what permanency? Because how many dream speeches do we have to make? And do I want to become a target? I mean, our school hasn't recovered from Angela Davis. If you go in some people's office, they'll be like, do you know where you are? And I'm like, I need to make a free Angela Davis t-shirt still? You know, so it's like you don't really know if you're putting yourself in jeopardy just by using your voice.
Yeah.
And so I kept trying to figure out, well, if I'm going to do something, where is it safe?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I didn't really understand the military, but my parents were just jacked up.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to school at Pittsburgh University, and I didn't have any base, and I didn't have any signatures, and I didn't really have the support to even get the money to stay where I already was.
So you went from Pasadena over to Pittsburgh?
Mm-hmm. And then from there, no, right after high school.
Okay, you went
I got out of
college.
high school in June. My mother wouldn't allow me to go to a 4-year school. She said I shouldn't have life any better than her, even though I had a full ride and full. My teacher, Miss Lily, went to Bennett in North Carolina, and she just made some phone calls, and so I had like room and board. Everybody was just really trying to get me away from my mom.
Mm-hmm.
My mom was like, hell no. Why should you have it any better than I had it? So I was like, wow. So I didn't take the SATs because she wouldn't give me any money for SATs or for cap and gown or anything. She was just like, why should you be better than me? And my mom always had like hair issues. Like, you're cute, you're this, you'll figure it out. And I'm like, why should I have to figure it out when I have a mom?
Yeah.
So it was like, even like she was very controlling. After my drill team in junior high school, I didn't want to do drill team.
Yeah.
And then the lady saw me from the high school and was like, oh, she's so cute. We want her. And I'm like, I thought I would get a break because you have to try out for high school. I didn't even have to try out. They were like, oh, we love her. And I'm like thinking I'm going to get a break. And my mom was like, oh, no, you're going to be doing a drill team in the summer. And I'm like, how? I didn't even try out for anything.
Yeah.
She's like, either do that or stay in the house every day. And so then she wouldn't give me bus fare. So I used to walk 5 miles from home to drill team. And I would usually get a ride home from like a football player or something because they had like football practice at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And afterwards, like we were under all this pressure all the time to try to keep the money for the uniforms. But then we had messed up parents who weren't giving us money for the uniform. So it was always like we were working really hard in high school for these $500, $600 uniform sets. And so that's where I'm in college now. Like, I saw too much candy in high school. I was working hard for tennis shoes.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's where I'm like, I done recovered off of some crazy things in life.
Yeah.
That's where I say, oh, hell no. Because I look at the activities here as part of tuition reimbursement. Mm-hmm. Because when they talk about how much you spend your money on, they calculate your fees and stuff. And they calculate these shirts. And they calculate these meals. And they calculate, oh, well, if she goes to these events. And we're paying for that with our little USAC fees and all of our money. And I'm like, it's always the black and brown that don't get their money's worth. And I look at that as working. Like I'm putting in service on campus because these people don't even expect us to show up. So when you show up with a brown face, it's almost like you are a representative. And I get asked some crazy things. And I give them some crazy answers. And they should be dependent on whether I'm hungry or sleepy or tired or how they come at me. Mm-hmm. You know, and I'm never rude, but I'm borderline very often. Oh, girl, I signed up as a Republican. Oh, yeah. I'm going to go into some of these Republican meetings. Nappy. Just as nappy as possible. If I roll my hair up on some, I like to go in opposite. I like to be so well-spoken. Girl, that's why I said the Air Force was involved.
Yeah, talk about
because I couldn't get help in school. So I needed to figure out how to emancipate myself.
Yeah.
Because my father, I wasn't 100% sure if he was on or off drugs still because he had graduated with straight A's. Mm-hmm. Somehow the heroin didn't melt his brain. Mm-hmm. And he said he didn't go through any rehab. He just one day finally decided, okay, this is not fun anymore. Mm-hmm. And then he went back to college and finished getting straight A's. Okay. And so he was also a counselor, and he went to school for black child psychology. Mm-hmm. I was like, that's real easy to go to school for black child psychology once your black children are grown up and you've already seen the answers. You know? Seriously. And so I have a little sister that's 16 years younger than me. And so that's when I went back east, and she was 18 months old. And I just really like grew up nervous for her because her mom is, I don't know, how do you judge somebody's mom who got with your dad when he was on heroin? I don't know how the birds flock together. So it's like part of me has always felt like I didn't know if I should be responsible for her because she could have been my daughter. I was 16. That's childbearing age. So then part of me is like, she's not my responsibility. Like I didn't create another child. And so it's like, it's always been a small voice in the back of my head. Like, am I shirking a responsibility or not?
Yeah.
And so it's like I almost couldn't allow myself to finish school until I knew she finished. Because I never knew if I would have to come to her rescue.
Yeah.
And so she finally graduated last year. And that's when I was like, okay. Because she went on to Pitt University, but she struggled. And she got her degree in sociology, and she pledged a sorority. She pledged that blue and gold one that we have on campus, Sigma Gamma Rho. Is that what it is? I don't know, but it's one. It's one of the black ones that's on mixed campuses.
Yeah.
Liz is the one we saw on the bus. Liz Hardy, she's in that.
As she wrote. Yeah.
I just know it's well RHO in there. So when she pledged that made me feel a little more comfortable to know that she had a base,
a foundation,
where I knew she didn't have a good family base.
Yeah. So and that's
because my father died back in 2002. Because after his heroin, he ended up with hepatitis and lung problems. Okay. And so they were, and Pittsburgh happens to be their medical center specializes in hepatitis and lung. You know, just like I think Chicago's more heart. Like every major hospital city has a specialization. And I think like we might be burn and trauma at UCLA.
I have no idea.
Oh, no, I do. That's what I'm saying. Every major city that has medical, they have a different organ that they specialize in. And my father was lucky that he happened to be, I don't know if maybe Pittsburgh was a hot hepatitis center, why they ended up specializing. Because that allowed him to get a lung transplant higher on the list. Because a hepatitis-infected lung became available. And so where they wouldn't give a hepatitis lung to a healthy person, because he was already controlled on the hepatitis, that allowed him to actually get a lung. Because they told him to go ahead and accept the lung, and they would go ahead and get the hepatitis out of the lung down to the levels where he was, because his hepatitis was basically undetectable. But then his lung only lasted a year, and then he ended up rejecting and all of that drama.
Wow. And
so I was working at Earthlink while he was getting his lung transplant, and so I'm online, as we always have to be, and my aunt is instant messaging me on AOL. Oh, by the way, your father is in an ambulance on his way to get a lung transplant. And I'm like, this is not the kind of stuff that you should be texting. And so she didn't stop texting, so I have like the transcripts of all of that. It was about maybe 20 minutes. And then my sister's mom didn't expect my dad to live. So she charged up all his credit cards and maxed them out.
Wow.
And that's what I think really killed him. Trying to straighten out his mess.
The stress.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's where I was like,
Yeah.
You know, because my father told me to come back there, and my sister's mom kicked me out because she was like, why is she wearing your jacket? As if, you know, inappropriate jealousies.
Yeah. And
I'm like, there's a new baby here. I don't even need to, like, rock the boat for the new baby.
Yeah.
I'm out. That's when I went to the Air Force. Because it was either come back to California, deal with my mom, or figure out some kind of way to deal with my dad. Because as you know, in college, you're not grown until you're over 25.
Yeah.
And I was only 18. So it was like, either I'll have no life and be oppressed and chained and under their rule, and who knows how much longer I can last that way.
Yeah. And
so I went to the Air Force because I felt like it was a safe space to gather steam without losing ground. And so then, and it turned out to be okay, even though it wasn't the regular military experience. And long story short, I ended up doing that Air Force entertainment, singing and dancing. On paper, I can fix planes. On paper, I'm an electrician. You might not want to ask me to change batteries in your phone. But if I need an electrical job, that will go to the top of my resume. And I figure something out to not get electrocuted, at least for one check.
Yeah.
I have a license to do hair and makeup.
Nice.
After doing entertainment in Europe, I was like, if I plan to still be in Europe in life, I need to learn how to comb my own hair for real. Like I knew how to comb my hair, but not without heat, you know? And in Europe, I got real
So you went
precise.
to Europe while
my tour was a European tour.
Okay, nice.
And so I did I spent most of the time in Germany and in England, but I did spend a week in Turkey, and I did do Crete and I got my hair washed in Greece, and that's why I came home and got a license. The man was so European. And over my nose at the shampoo bowl, and so in love with my natural hair. Girl, he pulled out a cake cutter, a metal pick in 1993, and picked my hair out and patted it down and sprayed some oil on it and said, I love your natural body. And I said, thank you. And I went out and jumped into the ocean like, no need saving this hair. I don't worry about stuff. You just move on. It's either a success or a failure.
Yeah.
And I don't look back unless it's to laugh. Like, well, do that hairstyle again.
Yeah.
We were supposed to go to Euro Disney, which, of course, I'm Disneyland out coming in Southern California. And then I have a retarded Disney family who just loves Disney. And I think, the man didn't like black people, folks. Why you keep giving your money? We didn't have no black princesses.
Yeah.
All we got is lions, and I don't mind because I'm a Leo, but the rest of y'all should be offended. No, I'm not giving him any money.
Yeah.
But my family is a Disneyland family, and I just look at them like, there are better things you could be doing with $80.
Seriously, though.
Especially when maybe my mom's the only one of 6 of her brothers and sisters that have a college degree. I think only my grandmother's sister owns a house. It's like we don't have anything, but they go to Disneyland.
Yeah.
And then they say I'm the weird one because I'm like always on some small revolutionary resistance stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, Viva la France. Fuck Disney. So I snuck from Disneyland. I jumped on a train and went down to Paris. Like, they were giving us some rules, and I happened to see, like, this kiosk. It was all in French, and I had just enough French to know how to get from Disneyland to Paris and spend 3 hours in Paris running around. I was running top speed. I'm surprised La Policia wasn't chasing after me because we were running like we stole something, trying to get as much in. I got to Eiffel and took pictures with the Eiffel Tower and stuff like that, and snuck back to Disneyland, and they didn't know. That's technically AWOL again when I think about it, because I went AWOL about maybe 4 or 5 times, but I really only got like reprimanded once. But I never got in trouble because I just held my ground. And that's what I find in life, is just holding your ground. Everybody tries to scare you, and you're like, the scare tactics. I guess, I mean, being 5'2" and never being like the biggest anywhere, it's like, you could scare somebody a lot bigger than me. Why are you even bothering to try to scare me? I feel like trying to scare somebody like me is like picking on a kid.
Yeah.
You know? So it's like they threaten you with the most like nothing stuff in life. Everything in life is loss of title. You won't be a Bruin if you get bad grades. Okay, well, I'll be in somebody else's school. You won't. We'll kick you out the Air Force with a dishonorable discharge. Okay, well, I won't tell anybody I was in the Air Force. So what? Scratch that off the resume. You know, don't leave a job without 2 weeks' notice. Fuck them. I'm not getting hired again.
Yeah.
You know, it's like everything in the United States is based on fear. And if you're fearless, then you are always in motion. Oh, what? I won't ask you for a reference. Don't ask me for one either, you know? And that's where I keep it moving.
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't fit, unless you plan on losing weight or gaining weight, because I have some cute stuff I would have to gain weight into, and let it go. And even if it doesn't fit, why hold on to it? Because that's not fashion.
Yeah.
And I live by a lot of fashion rules. And that's why I say, if it's not fashion, it's not the right F word.
Okay, so
We good?
no, just to wrap up, how did you get to UCLA and where are you at now?
I just woke up one day and said, how many units do I have? Really, I always maintained some type of a tie to school. Like, I never would go more than 2 years without taking a class.
Okay.
Then one day I was just like, do I have enough units for an AA? Because I need a new job, and I need a job that I don't already qualify for. Do I qualify for something and I don't know it yet?
Yeah.
And when I went and checked, they were like, you need to go. And I was like, okay, tell me something I don't know. Do I have the AA is my question. And they wouldn't answer my question, so I was like, all right, I'll get answers elsewhere.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, I got an email saying, you're accepted. And I was like, do I feel like going to school? And I was like, this Make of America is some bullshit.
Yeah.
I guess I feel like going to school if those are my options.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got here and I found out it was a big deal. And I was like, for real? Which most of the stuff I've done is a big deal to other people.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it's just another option.
Mm-hmm.
And I just either audition or apply.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at everything equal. Like, I don't know what the world finds to be so great about a lot of things, like Lady Gaga.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know, but then things that I feel are really great are sometimes like lost. Like I'm all still like Thelonious Monk every day.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's certain things that I find are fashion and some things are fad, and I try to base my life on fashion, and I try not to overindulge in fad. Because fad is a waste of money. And fad doesn't fit well on your resume.
Nice.
And that's it.
Do you have any anything you feel like you left out?
No, because it's never left out. It's just in another edit or another version. So.
Okay. Well, there we go. Alrighty. Well, thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
And watch, I didn't record anything. 30 minutes. That was good.
See if it'll record the audio from the recording.